The Utah Mammoth is sorta proud to present NASHCAST.
What the is a NASHCAST?
NASHCAST, the only hockey show on the planet. Hosted by a human speed bag, fourth line wannabe, healthy scratch, schnozzy moto, Tyson Nash.
Who the hell is Tyson Nash?
Never heard of him.
And the baritone with a brain, the velvet hammer, Mr. Silky, Tono Suave, the radio voice of your Utah Mammoth,
Code Blue!
Mike Folta.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
NASHCAST begins now.
Ready for takeoff.
Here's Tyler Ganoush and Mickey Foghorn. Wait, what? Oh, here's Tyson Nash and Mike Folta.
Feeling good, Foltzy. Holy, how good is life right now in the hockey world? Like playoffs, are you kidding me? The Canes, the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, could you be any more entertained, buddy?
I've never been addicted to anything in my life, but when 6 o'clock Mountain Time rolls around and it's time for the Stanley Cup Final, like, just get out of my way. Like, do not get in between me and the screen because I have been glued to these games. It is insane hockey. Like, who needs drugs when you have this Stanley Cup Final? Like, where were you watching Game 3? Were you with your family? Were you in AZ?
Well, so Game 2, I was driving. I mean, so for everyone who's following the NASHCAST, I was listening to it on the radio, folks. You would have been so proud. I felt like I was a little kid again. I'm like sitting on my grandpa's knee, listening to the Edmonton Oilers games. Like, you'll never forget those voices, right? And those memories, like Gretzky to Curry, hit the back of the net. And I'm like, just imagining it in your head, right? Like, we're so, I don't know, like everything's right there for us now. Sometimes it's good to go back old school radio like you, buddy. I absolutely loved it. So
What
I was
feed
up
were you
and down.
listening to?
What was it? I don't know what it was. It was on Sirius XM something.
It might have been the Sports USA feed, which is Eddie Olczyk and John Forsland. Does it sound like those guys?
Yeah, actually. Oh my God. I didn't even know. It didn't sound like Eddie. I thought he was doing because they're not doing TNT. You're right. That is who it was. I was scratching my head. Literally, it came in and out though. Yeah, I know. Oh, those two guys are legends. But I knew it was Forsey for sure, but I didn't know it was Eddie. But it was like coming in and out because I was driving through the mountains. It was a cluster. But like that Game 2 also, like, incredible. And Game 3, does it get any better? Honestly, I literally went and took a leak. And I came back and like the score had completely changed.
No.
I mean, it was a joke. I'm like, what just happened? Oh my God.
You were in a gas station in the 39 seconds where Carolina scored the fastest 3 goals in Stanley Cup Final history.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Dude, I couldn't believe what just happened. Like, I was like beside myself. Anyway, unreal hockey. The Vegas Golden Knights, they're unstoppable right now. Right? They really are. I mean, I thought they would be a little bit rattled. And I know we had interviewed Commodore and Ray Whitney the other day, and they talked about momentum. And, I wondered if there would be a momentum shift, if that really exists in the Stanley Cup Finals. I always believed it did, but it sure didn't. I mean, Carolina won that Game 2, and they go into Game 3, and Vegas wins that one. So absolutely love what we're watching.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's two teams that I feel like have a lot of similar qualities, even though they approach things from different angles, right? Like, Carolina has their own identity and they're man-on-man in the D zone, their speed, the way they skate. Vegas doesn't have the skating ability, but they stick to their structure, kind of like Carolina sticks to their structure. And there's these two identities clashing. And what we have are these incredible battles on the ice. And Tyson, like, do you remember seeing, like, I know the Stanley Cup Finals are intense every year, but do you remember seeing like this level of battle, this level of compete that's been equal between two sides? Because I feel like I'm watching like a level of hockey I haven't seen before. And part of it too is none of these teams are perfect. Like, you have guys making mistakes one shift and then they're the hero of the game the next shift. And to me, that's making it so entertaining and it's so much fun.
Yeah, and you know what, Fultz? That's a great question. I have seen it before. I mean, just different eras, right? I mean, but equally, if you get bored one time, anyone who's listening to this, do me a favor and go watch the New York Rangers versus the Vancouver Canucks Stanley Cup Finals. So I was a black ace. I'd won the Memorial Cup with the Kamloops Blazers in Kamloops. I got called up immediately. I didn't get to smoke a cigar. I didn't get a party. I was literally I had to drive. I drove to Vancouver and I was a black ace and part of the Vancouver Canucks run. And that, I'm telling you, that series is like none I've ever seen. It has to go down as one of the best ever. How physical it was, some of the hits, some of the dirty plays, the non-calls, like all of it. Do me a favor, watch that series or at least a couple of the games. Like it's mind-boggling. Like that no one's in prison after some of those hits because they were absolutely vicious. But you're right, Fultz. I mean, this hockey, these two teams, the want that they have, and Vegas, I mean, they have that veteran leadership, right? There's no panic. You look on their faces, there's no panic at all. Carolina ties it up. They're like, whatever, we got this, boys. We'll score the next goal. We got Marner. We got Stoner. Like, let's go. And they get it done. They find a way. But what an addition Marner's been. Like, are you kidding me? What is, like, Toronto must be flipped literally upside down right now with just people so pissed off. This guy left, and he's possibly going to win a Conn Smythe and maybe a Stanley Cup. I mean, it's unbelievable what this guy's doing.
Yeah, I believe he's got the goal scoring record in the playoffs, or maybe the points record for the Vegas
points.
Yeah, because I think Howden has the
goals.
What a player that guy is, huh?
Oh, I mean, like I didn't know a lot about him. Like I know he's been in the league for a bit, but I didn't know this kid had it in him. Like bottom line, like that's a big game player. What's he got? 13 or 14 goals. Yeah. Like that's bonkers. Like that's nuts. I talked to Ray Whitney the other day. This guy, could have been, maybe should have been in the Hall of Fame, and he scored when they won the Cup in Carolina 9 goals. I mean, I thought that was a big deal. This guy's got 13, call it 14, I think actually is what he has. So he had a chance again to score another huge one last game on that late breakaway too. So I don't know. Again, the landscape is changing. Just everyone's talking about Dylan Larkin. Detroit, what's gone on, the feud, if there is one. I mean, you got to think there's some beef going on between him and Steve Yzerman, because he has asked for a trade. He's given his 3 teams apparently that he wants to go to, and I don't know. Can you blame him? I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's about money. It's about taking care of your future and your family and all those things. But it's also about winning. That's what you play for as a kid. That's what you dreamt about your entire life, was hoisting a Stanley Cup. And I mean, Detroit, it's been tough. They have not made the playoffs full. It's one time, not one time in that beautiful brand new Little Caesars Arena. And that's not okay. And I know all too much about rebuilds. I know they take time, but there's been time, right? And now Larkin wants out. So I think he's sending a clear message to the management group in Detroit, but also the rest of the National Hockey League. I want to win, so someone bring me in.
You were just talking about Mitch Marner, Tyson, and during the Olympics, Dylan Larkin was great for Team USA. He was playing with Jack Eichel, and he was playing with Quinn Hughes, 2 guys who also wanted out of their respective situations in Buffalo and in Vancouver. You talk about a changing landscape. I mean, how much effect do you think maybe some of those conversations have on Larkin and just seeing what other guys are accomplishing in the league? I mean, Jack Eichel gets out of Buffalo and wins the Stanley Cup. Mitch Marner gets out of Toronto and is the front runner for the Conn Smythe right now. Think of Matthew Tkachuk, goes to Florida and totally changes that franchise around. So we're seeing like this new era of player empowerment, but for Larkin specifically, like it's hard to imagine that some of those conversations in Milan didn't take place and were not imprinted on Larkin from Hughes and Eichel.
1,000%. I mean, obviously it didn't work out for Quinn Hughes, but you got to think if he re-signs, which all signs point to him re-signing a long-term deal, they're going to win eventually in Minnesota. I mean, Bill Guerin, he is one of the best GMs in the league. It's not even close. Not even close. For him to pull that trade off And that's honestly, like the next steps. Like Bill Armstrong has to be looking towards that as well, right? I need to pull off a Bill Guerin type of move. They got so much in the pipeline, too much in the pipeline. And that's the carrot that he's got to be dangling. And he is, he is. He's been doing this for a real long time. But you're right. I think now players, they recognize, hey, your career's short. Getting to the playoffs, making the playoffs is so difficult. And the opportunities, the players, folks that I played with that are so good, so talented, and have never won a Stanley Cup. Like think of that. Like it's not easy to do, right? And only one team does it every year. And it's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to go through. But
not just win the cup, but get the playoffs.
Yeah.
They haven't been to the playoffs since Larkin's rookie year when Henrik Zetterberg was the captain.
I know.
Like it's been a decade.
I know. And you look at the pieces, there's just not a lot there really, right? And some of the guys are older, a little bit weathered. But anyway, I think you're going to see more and more of this happening. You got to think of McDavid and Draisaitl. I mean, they put their group on watch, right? On notice that if things don't change and we don't improve in a hurry, like things are going to change seriously, drastically. So I love it. And I always said this, and I've come to find out, folks, that a lot of captains, if I'm a captain and I'm secure in myself and I'm secure in my job clearly because I am the captain, I'm going to the GM. I'm having regular conversations with the general manager, not, getting into the nitty gritty, but just saying, hey, this is what I feel like we need. This is what I think our team needs in order to get over the hump, in order to, you look at Carolina back in 2006, Ray Whitney talked about it. He's like, we brought in Doug Weight. And who else did they bring in? Doug Weight and Mark Recchi.
Yeah.
And they're like, that was a message to the rest of the locker room. Like, all right, boys, we are pushing the chips all in. We are all in on this, right? And I do believe, though, that I think captains need to do that. They need to be involved. I know I would, right? I mean, wouldn't you? I got to think Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky over the years were like, hey, Slats, like we need this guy. We need that guy, right? I mean, I don't see how that doesn't happen.
But those are also two guys that got traded at some point, right? Gretzky and Messier, two of the greatest of all time. And if anybody's kind of wondering where we're getting the why we're talking about the relationship between Steve Yzerman and Dylan Larkin. Larkin last year made some comments at the trade deadline saying like, "Hey, I wish management would have done something to help us out," and that didn't go over super well. Well, moves were made this year at the deadline. They brought in some guys. They brought in Justin Falk, I think a couple other pieces, and they still missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Wings were at the top of the Atlantic Division for a lot of the season and just had a total meltdown.
Rough march. Rough march. And here's the other thing. I don't think anything should be publicized. Like I don't. That's just something you don't go to the media, right? With. You don't go to your press conference and go, I wish we brought in, whatever. If you got a beef, you go right to the GM himself, right? But anyway, I think things are going to change. It's maybe a wake-up call in Detroit as well, that you're possibly losing your captain, right? Because of something that happened. And I don't know what happened. But anyway.
Did you ever come across Stevie Y?
Oh, yeah. He was one of my favorite players growing up. Like, what a stud. What an absolute stud. I can't say enough good things about Stevie Y. He's so nice, very sarcastic, real dry sense of humor. Like, oh my God, like he guess he's just ruthless in the locker room. I talked to some of the old Detroit Red Wings guys and they're like, he is ruthless. Like, and if he doesn't like you, holy, he is going to go after you every day. But yeah, absolutely love him. So.
Well, we do have another legend of the game, a Hall of Famer, Pierre Turgeon. He's coming up in a little bit. But before we get to Pierre, Tyson, do you want to go into any of these NHL awards that got announced? We've had a few awards. We start with Jack Adams. John Cooper named as the Jack Adams Award winner. Your boy, Coop.
Yeah.
Finally gets it after, what, now 3 times as a finalist. But great work from him and the Lightning after they had a bunch of injuries. And what do you got?
I don't know if you can see this, but it's little baby deer.
Oh, no kidding.
You see that?
Oh yeah. Where's mom? Where's
right
Bambi?
in front of him.
Oh, okay. Wow. This is like
It's like a
this is
nature
like
show.
yeah, this is
And then
blue
now you got to
fun.
look at me. You're like, oh, I like the deer better. Yeah, I was happy for Coop. I mean, here's the thing, though. I think it's absolutely nuts. You want to give out the Defenseman of the Year, give that out after the regular season. A lot of those awards can go after the regular season, like they've done. The Coach of the Year, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I say this all the time. I know you hate it. Coach of the Year goes to the Stanley Cup winner. End of story. End of story. That is the best coach that year, right? It just is. Sorry. It makes no sense to me. I mean, the awards aren't for a while. Like you can, like, I don't know, like that's got to change.
It's a lot of times it's the coach or the guy who wins is just the coach who like overachieved the most. It is good to see Cooper get some recognition because he deserves it as one of the best coaches in the world, coach of Team Canada. I had Rick Tocchet #1 on my ballot. I thought he
Philly.
Yeah, I thought he did the most with the least in terms of what the talent he had on his roster getting into the playoffs. But I did not have Cooper in my top 3, but I'm happy for him. He was just outside.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Rick Tocchet was unbelievable. And didn't he win back in Vancouver a few years ago too? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think he did. He won a Jack Adams with the Vancouver Canucks, and then they just imploded. But I think John Cooper's was more on what he's done past, like how he's never won a Jack Adams award as Coach of the Year is beyond me, right? I mean, how many Stanley Cups do you have to win to be the Coach of the Year? Like I can't get into it. I'll get so fired up. I'll jump off this balcony, folks.
The deer will be pulling out of the water. Yeah, you're right. Talk did win it back in 23-24 with Vancouver, so you were spot on there. McDavid gets the Ted Lindsay Award, which is the MVP as voted on by the players, which you think we should put more emphasis on the Ted Lindsay Award since it's the players that are voting on.
Like the players should be voting on a lot of these awards. Like, why does the media vote on the Norris Trophy? Like, what is the media? Like, what do I know about the top defenseman in the National Hockey League? What could I possibly know? I don't. I only know if I play against the guy every single game. That's how you know, right? You don't know what it's like to play against a Chris Pronger, say, right? Or a Makar. I don't know. I don't know what it's like because I don't have to face his speed, his edge work, his shot, his elusiveness, trying to hit him. Like, I don't know those things. So I don't know why the media votes on that one either. The players should vote on a majority of these awards because the players, ultimately, they know.
Broadcasters vote on Jack Adams. Media votes on Norris. And is the Hart Trophy, is that like a combination?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't win too many of those. So.
we haven't seen the Hart yet, but we did get the Norris going to Zach Werenski. Excellent defenseman for Columbus. You could give that award to Cale Makar every year, I feel like, Tyson. Maybe unless Lane Hudson starts winning them soon. But Makar finished second behind Werenski, and a lot of people thought Rasmus Dahlin had a good chance to win it. But any thoughts on Zach Werenski, Team USA leader winning it?
You know what I love about Werenski is that he plays for Columbus, right? He doesn't play for Colorado. He doesn't have a McKinnon. He doesn't have like all those studs, right? Landeskog. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, it's ridiculous in Colorado. He doesn't have a lot of help, and what he does on a nightly basis, like he is by far the most important player on their team. It's not even close, right? And same with Celebrini. What was I bitching about Celebrini? Like, I thought it was the MVP, wasn't it? Or like he's the most valuable player to his team. Like saying that if you took and plucked one of those guys off of their teams, what would change? Everything would change. San Jose would still be crappy, like they've been for the longest time until they got Celebrini, right? Who changed their entire organization, literally. So that was a head scratcher for me, how he didn't win that, because by the rules and how it's written, it's hands down Celebrini's award.
No, it's a great point because a lot of times it goes to the guy with the most points but a lot of times that guy might be playing with a couple other elite players where, I mean, Celebrini, I think he had twice as many points as the next guy on San Jose. Like he is that team right now. And I feel that way about the Selke. Like the Selke went to Nick Suzuki this year. He had a great season, but it feels like scoring always creeps into the psyche of Selke voters. But the award just says the best defensive forward. Like the guy could have 0 points all year and he could still win the Selke by the letter of how it's written.
That's kind of how it was too. Like back in the day. I mean, you had like John Madden. Didn't he win a couple Selkies?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very talented player. Don't get me wrong, but he was more focused solely on winning faceoffs and keeping the puck out of his net. And he won Stanley Cups because of it, right? I mean, you look at and you know, I think it's evolved into more of a point thing. Don't you? Like I think it was like thinking of guys that won it back in my day, like Mads and Yuri Lettinen, and you know, like those guys put up 30, 40 points a year, right? Like Suzuki put up, can he score 40 goals? I mean,
I think he had 100 points.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I feel like it's kind of morphed into an award of like who is a forward who scores a bunch of points but doesn't get embarrassed defensively and has good face-off numbers. And that's the Selke now.
And that shouldn't be it. It shouldn't be, because we got tons of awards for point guys, right? Like the Norris turned into that. When, like, I love Carlson. I mean, but he's not the best defenseman. Like, offensive defenseman? I mean, reword the award then. Most points by a defenseman? Like, I mean, I would not have him out on the ice in the last 5 minutes of a tied game. I just wouldn't. He's a wild child. Love him, but so to me, that's a defenseman. So you gotta, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just flapping my lips here.
What's the award you would have the best chance at winning?
Oh, there isn't one. I mean,
not even the Lady Byng, not the way you played.
Oh God, yeah.
You might have a better chance to win the Hart than the Lady Byng.
Yeah, I don't know what I would win. I mean, a shoe model, hand model. That's about it. I don't got a lot going for me. I was lucky. I couldn't play when I played Foltz, but
oh, come on.
Biggest rat. They should have like the biggest rat award. That's what I would have won. And I would have won it hands down for probably 3 straight years. And then I was so tired of getting my face caved in every single night that I kind of, you know, wasn't as big of a rat, I guess you could say. But every game, Foltz, there 3 or 4 times someone would ask me to fight. Like, and eventually you have to say yes, right? And I didn't win a lot of those fights, but you showed up. You showed up.
To the Lady Byng. That's what the anti-Byng. That's what.
Well, everyone talks about it, right? Like they're all talking about Benson, who I hope to have on the show here soon. Benson in Buffalo, following in the footsteps of Marchand. I mean, those guys are so valuable, and that is like it's a hidden tool and skill that every team is looking to have on their roster. And that's something that we could use in Utah is a guy that plays the rat role, right? That draws penalties, gets under the other team's skin. You know, they're so worried about hitting and killing him that, you know, they don't worry about the game. So,
well, let's not keep Pierre Turgeon waiting any longer. Tyson, a great chat with him. We went almost an hour, but just hilarious, so much fun, a joy to talk to. Obviously loves the game, and hope you guys enjoy.
Turge, so we're going to get right into this. I got to ask you, and I don't know if you remember, I don't think we were necessarily seatmates in St. Louis when we played together, but I think I sat across from you. I think Nancy was our flight attendant. She took great care of us always. But I'd always, Foltz, I would get on the airplane, and you knew when this guy meant business. On the ice, off the ice. He would have all his receipts. He'd have his computer cracked open, and I would get on the plane. And this guy, remember the program Quicken? So Turge is firing in all his receipts, and oh, dude, like I cannot believe it. You were making, what were you making back then? Like 8, 9, 10 million? I don't even know.
Yeah, no, less than that, but 6. Yeah, 6 something. Oh. Yeah, crazy. I know.
And crazy. He would be putting in his receipts. Crazy. And one time you sat me down and you're like, Tyson, sit down. I want to give you some advice. And I remember back then, like you had an old Mercedes, probably a little bit older than some of the new ones, you know, but it was like, it was pristine. But you always said to me, make sure you take care of yourself first. Don't be
Mhm.
buying your parents, like stuff, don't be buying a
Mhm.
bar or a restaurant, which I did, by the way. I didn't listen to your advice and lost. But you always gave me that advice. And I to this day, I admire it because I'm like, this guy was making
Wow.
so much money and he was still taking care of business.
That's incredible what you're saying. That's yeah. The funny thing is, my agent Pierre Lacroix, and my accounting. When I started playing in the NHL, we used to call the electric chair. So we used to go sit down around the table. So that's how it started it. And then you made 100,000, you paid, you have 30 at the bank. What did you do with your 30, 40 tax? And then your 30, where did you go? What did you do with it? So we had to explain him. We used to write it down. That's how it started. So every year, those first couple years, I was missing 5,000, 10,000. And then the more it got forward, I got to be in touch with what I was making. So, and then the Quicken program, which is I still do today. I still do the
No
Quicken
way.
program.
No
I
way.
still do the program today, so I know
You
what
got
the hell's
to update the
going on.
software. That software is like 50 years old.
It's crazy, but you're right. That is funny. That is funny. You remember this? Yeah. So yeah, it's always been something that I learned from my agent. I took that advice, and I'm grateful for that. So and then you could think about your future. Hockey, you don't know how long it lasts. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You don't know. So you got to think about your future, and if you don't, then you miss out.
That's why you're in Florida. That's why you're retiring. The feet are up. The tan is there. And hey, do you have a boat? I see you on Instagram.
Yeah.
First of all, I can't believe you're on Instagram. I'm like Pierre Turgeon's on Instagram,
I am.
and you're flying around in this big yacht. Is that yours?
It's mine. Yeah. So yeah, but we bought it. It's a 45.
Download Quicken, Tyson. Come on.
Yeah. It made a hole in the budget. I'll tell you that right now. So, but yeah. So, but I love being on the water. I love being. So when the kids come down, so we entertain, and Dominic was here with his wife, so we just went and cruised around. My wife too. So it's awesome. We enjoy it. So yeah. Yeah, I do. I can't believe you're checking me out, man. What's going on here?
I know. You might have to get a restraining order on me. I'm like a stage 5 clinger, Turge.
Pierre,
Awesome.
so when you were sitting in the plane doing your budget, your accounting, were you looking over and Tyson's wearing Louis Vuitton and drinking Patron and things like that?
I can't remember that part, but yes, I did that. Some receipt. I kept my receipt. That's funny. You remember this, but that's awesome. Good.
No,
How many
false.
years, Tyson? How many years for you in the NHL?
Did I play? I think I was part of 9 with a lockout and a
That's
half.
beautiful, man.
So I was
That's
part of
awesome.
that
Very
stinking
blessed.
lockout, But I think what happened was why he gave me that advice, because he's like, I don't know how long you're gonna play in this league. I can't even believe you're here right now.
No,
So you better
no.
save your money, kid.
Yeah, that's funny. That is funny. You were talented. You brought something to a team that a lot of team wants. I'll tell you that right now. It was really nice to have you on the team. You know what kind of energy you brought on the ice. You were a fireball. And you were just a pest out there, but with skill too.
Hey, you're gonna end up with a nose like mine, Turge, if you're not careful.
But it's true though. It's true though. So it's you wanted to have Tyson on your team, not against you. That is for sure.
Hey, you're gonna send me a bill for these comments, aren't you? I know it. But Turge, let's get right into it then. Like St. Louis, because it brings me back.
Yeah.
And Fultz, I don't know if you're watching back in the day. You were just a young pup, but our team, like for you and me, I mean, that was one of my first years when we won the President's Trophy. It was actually my second year.
Yeah.
I came up when you guys ended up losing to Dallas. I played a couple games in the playoffs, but that team was probably the best team to never win. I mean, that was the most heartbreaking loss. Right. And I still go back to this day when you sit back and you evaluate your career and you look back at things. And I'm like, that team was so ridiculous when you look at the players that we have, how we lost in the first round to the San Jose Sharks. I mean, the year you had, I mean, the superstars we had, and to never win. I mean, do you still think about those things?
For sure. I mean, that's probably the team that I had a chance to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, you're talking Pronger, Al McInnes in the back, and you in front you had with Brett and all. I mean, it was just Pavel Dimitrov was there. Pavel was the most underrated player like I played with. This guy could do stuff with the puck that he was incredible with, and so yeah, you're right. The team we had, we were supposed, and then didn't work out. And but it is the best team I played with for sure as far as skill. Wow, it was unbelievable. But it was a disappointment for sure at the end. You get all the way there, you had the team, you had the horse in front, and it just didn't work out. That's what hockey sometimes happens. Whatever, but it's crazy.
I think it was your Hall of Fame speech. You mentioned driving to games with Al McGinnis. What was that relationship like, and what were those conversations like?
First class, man. Al was just
Archie Bunker. Archie Bunker, we used to call him. He was the grumpiest guy sometimes.
But it's funny. He came in. He was he met business right off the bat. When he got in the locker room, he was very. But what did I learn a lot from him? Just driving with him, the way he communicated on the ice. We wanted to win. He always had something to talk about the game, the preparation when we drove together, and great memories for me driving with him, going down to the ring. These things you just grab that, and he always said too. I said, communicating on the ice, it's like having an extra player with you. Sometimes you can't see stuff behind you, so gotta communicate. You gotta loud, yell, tell, say what's going on, forecheck, move your legs, whatever that is you need to do to say. To help, and he was really, and I learned a lot. So yeah, that time I spent with him in the car, I did grab that time. There was a good quality time that I learned a lot of things from him for sure.
You had a lot of good car partners, that's for sure. I used to drive to the rink with Dally Drake, and he'd make me buy the coffee every time. I'm like, Turge isn't gonna like this. This isn't gonna add up in the quicken if I'm paying all the bills. But those conversations with Al, I mean, our power play back then was ridiculous. I mean, you had Al, you had Prongs, which you don't see very often, having two defensemen on the same power play. Usually you load it up with forwards. But would you guys have conversations like, we need to do this, we need to do that? And Fultz, my only job, and Joel Quinville had a stat on our stat sheet that he would staple to the board the next day, drawn penalties. And all I would do was go out there, I'd stick my stick in someone's glove, someone would slash me, and I'd put Turge and Al and Prongs on the power play. And I mean, I never got a gift receipt or anything, Turge, for all those power play points you got back in the day.
Hey, listen, that's what I'm saying. We needed to have guys like you. You created stuff like this so we could have power plays for sure. And yeah, you were just on the ice creating chaos. Which was good.
I'm still doing it. Off
I'm
the
not
ice
surprised.
now.
I'm not surprised. You guys don't. Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, but yeah, is Brett, was that there at that year, or it was Scott Young?
It was younger.
It was younger. So Younger was freaking like incredible hockey player. So he could put the puck in the net, hold like this, and he could just put it any way he wanted to. So it's great. Yeah. So the team we had was unbelievable. And you're right. The power play was just, we could move the puck. Did we communicate after or before, between period coming in, and then all of a sudden Al could get up and talk a little bit about the power play and fixing things. But you knew you had to move the puck quickly. It wasn't, you couldn't keep that puck long. And with these two guys we had in the back, it was amazing. How can you have a Chris Pronger and Al McInnes on the same team? So that's crazy. You know what I mean? It's just top notch.
And he was the only guy you kind of felt safe with in front of the net with over 100-mile-an-hour slap shot.
Yeah,
you're like, at least Al knows where it's going, right? Some guys were like, boom, it was right around your teeth. You're like, don't. Yeah.
It's true though, yeah. And he was telling me, it's just go get lost behind the net, because obviously he was a right defenseman, and everyone was saying, no, get out of the way, because he knew what he was doing with the puck. He knew exactly where he was shooting the puck. So I went all the way around the net, get in that far post, and I had to keep my stick so tight, my foot behind the blade, so because it was coming like so hard, and the first couple of times it was just exploding everywhere. I couldn't keep control of it, but it was a laser, you could see. But he could see. You're right. He could see where the puck was going. A lot of times he didn't have to shoot. He just went on the side just for the tip. And he was telling me that, like, when you think about Nguyen, how many goals he had, 2 of those 50 goals a lot of times it helped, and Al was feeding him a ton. So I probably got another 5 to 8 goals just because of Al. Seriously.
Wow. Would he
Yeah.
shoot like that in practice too?
Oh no, he was careful. He didn't have.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta tell you though, when he went D to D, the first couple of times I played with Al, when you went, because his curve was like this.
It was like a 9-iron.
Yeah. So, but when he passed the puck in the middle, I thought he was going on the right wing. So it was like you thought he was going straight to the board, but he was coming in the middle because the puck, he was passing it way behind him, and you thought he was expecting the pass to go on the right side. And
he carried the puck up the ice. Remember that, Turge? He carried it up like in the crack of his stick. It'd be like just like a shovel carrying the thing up the ice. It was insane that he could play with that wood stick. Remember that thing, that big, heavy blue and white Sherwood. God, hey, but Turge, so Fultz, this is a funny story. Like I've never, even to this day, I've never met a player who prepared more for a hockey game in my entire life, but practice, lifting weights, pregame. Turge, I don't know how you had this ritual, but he used to squat and it was before they even brought weights, to the rink before the game, right? On the road. Now it's just a common theme, but Turge would be squatting, the heaviest weight you've ever seen in your life. How did you get into that ritual? And the best part, Fultz, was I remember Al McInnes, Turge, I don't know if you remember this, but Al McInnes one game, you didn't have it that night, or the team didn't have it. He was going to light a fuse, and he was like, Turge, maybe even didn't do 10,000 squats before the game. You'd have your legs tonight. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, do I? Because it's something I used to do almost every 2 or 3 games. I did it 1 or twice a week, and I used to go, but not. It's just heavy, nothing to burn the legs, but it's just some couple of spark, and all of a sudden I had jumped. I fell almost all the time. I felt pretty hidden, except that time maybe. But but I had jumped. So So I got to Colorado. You know who's doing it too? Joe Sakic. Without realizing, we get in the morning of the skate. So we get there. I'm very close with Joe. Great man, good friend. And we get to the locker room in the morning practice, and he goes, "What do you do?" Like, we're doing the same thing. So he's doing some lunch.
You're fighting for the squat rack.
Yeah, exactly. It's my turn. No, your turn. My turn. Yeah. So, but yeah, Joe Sakic used to do the same before the game, without realizing he was doing it. So we got in the locker room, in the training room before the games, me and him.
Wow.
That's funny. Yeah. So you're right. I did it all my career. I did it all my career until the
But that was our locker room, right? Like, I mean, Al McInnes gave it to Pierre Turgeon. Keith Tkachuk would give it to Doug Wade or Chris Pronger. Like that's just what went on in there, right? I mean, you had to have thick skin in that locker room. Pavel Dimitri, to your point, God rest his soul, this guy was one of the most underrated superstars to ever play our game. And guys would just give it to him. I would give it to him.
Because he was quiet. He didn't say anything, but he finished the game with 4 points, 3 points. He was so good. He was so good. But you're right. The kind of guys we had there, they were just going at it. Yeah. And then Bergevin was there at that point too. Berge. Oh my God.
The dances after the game, after every win. We had a doctor remember the doctor we had? He was like 80 years old, and Turge would come in there and he'd have his jock strap on only after a win. The music would be going, and he'd be giving our doctor, 80-year-old doctor, a lap dance. Like,
that is funny that you remember that. That is funny. Yeah. Yeah. And so the guy that was the player of the game, so he just knew who it was, came in, and he used to, and everyone used to sit down. We used to just wait, and then Berge came in and grabbed the guy that had a good game, and he put it in the middle in the chair, middle of the locker room, and then the music started and the dance started, and it was pretty and very fun to watch.
Can you believe he was the GM of the Montreal Canadiens after that?
The last guy I was expecting to see would be him being a GM, to be honest with you. But that's amazing, though. Yeah, that is funny.
We used to land the plane. Remember, we'd land the plane and he would be in the aisle, like up when the plane's landing, and he would land it like a ski jump.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he'd like.
when we were taking off too, he got up
yeah.
and then he went like he was flying in the air. Oh my god, it was on stuff. There's a guy. So one of the first time he met my dad, I brought my dad in the locker room, and my dad couldn't speak English, so Burge goes to him. He goes, "Mr. Turgeon," in French. He goes, "I hope everything I heard about you is not true," and he leaves. So my dad goes, "What the hell did you say?" So that's kind of the stuff. It's on stop. Every little things like this, that's Burge, So it's on stop. If he was quiet in the locker room across, you knew something was happening. But he brought something to the locker room, was very unique and very special, and it was so much fun to have that guy. And he loosened up everything, even in the playoff. I mean, when we won against when we came back. Against Phoenix, that's the time. Yeah, we came back. We were losing 3-1 in the series, and he's probably one of the reasons that we actually came back, because he made the locker room loosen up. Guys were tight. We had him. It was just He dressed like a Samu. In the final. We were in the in overtime. The second, he was sweating in that big suit. And when we won, he was just bouncing all over the place. This guy was just dressed like this big Samu guy. Oh my god!
The sumo wrestler.
Yeah, the sumo wrestler. That's unbelievable.
And didn't he have, like, in Dallas, like a big afro on the corner of the street? Remember that? He was pretending to be Grant Fuhr.
Yeah, but that wasn't it. That was actually in Phoenix. That's when we were losing 3-1, and then that game 5, we're going to the rink, and he's got a jersey on, 31, and the big wig going, and he's got a sign "Go Blues Go," and we're thinking, who does that? Yeah. We're taking the bus, and we're leaving from the Ritz-Carlton to go to the rink, and the bus is just crying, laughing. But he made it special. He made the locker room loosen up, and we had an incredible time. But he brought some great energy in the locker room. He was fun to be around.
So did Al and those guys, did they go for that? Like, or are they like?
Oh, coach was laughing. I mean, Quenneville was just crying, laughing in front. They loved it. Oh, it was very unique, very special. But you know what? He made it that. And then he didn't play much. And the next year they signed him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. They signed him.
Yeah.
He brought something to our locker room very unique, and they signed him. Yeah, so we'll keep you. Just because
I remember I fought him in training camp the next year because I hit Pavel Dimitri. Yeah, I hit Pavel Dimitri in training camp. But Turge, you score. I'll never forget. So I get called up. I was there for Game 7 in Phoenix. I'll never forget it. I saw a big goal in that game.
Crazy. No,
that was
kidding.
you, right?
That's my biggest goal. Yeah, biggest goal in my career probably. It's crazy. It was just a tip. It was just going wide on the left side. I tipped it and went on direct. It got directed to the right side, and it's just right place, right time. That's what it was. But it's the process that what happened during that, losing 3-1 and then coming back from behind and having a Bergevin doing all these things, and he made everything loosen up. And then we just grind about. We came back from behind. It was unbelievable. And yeah, that's one of the biggest goals. Yeah, the biggest goal I scored in my career for sure.
Of the 500 plus goals, that's the biggest one. Wow. And I watched it. I was there to witness it, Fultz.
That's crazy, man. That was fun. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Pierre, I want to go back to the beginning of your career. You get drafted first overall with Buffalo, but one of the guys you played with, Alex Mogilny, you were there when he first defected. Is that right? Like what?
Yes.
What was he like? Was he kind of telling you what it was like and telling stories from behind the curtain? I mean, because that was a groundbreaking transaction for him to come over.
So first of all, we couldn't communicate. He couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak English. So that was number one. No, but we got after a year or two show, and then we got to get and it's funny because Alex, we're the same, pretty much close to the same age anyway. But we played against each other, midget AAA and Cup SO Cup and all these things. So I kind of knew him a little bit, but yes, he got defected. He got in '89 when he got to Buffalo. I remember this because maybe 6 months in, and I don't know how that worked, but he was able to fly his mom back to Buffalo, but they kept the rest of his family. So, and then I remember this, him telling us about when she went to the grocery store, went down on her knee crying, seeing all that food in front of her because they didn't have anything, obviously, especially in that, late 90s or late 80s. But he was a unique guy. He was an incredible hockey player. He could skate like you give him the puck behind. It's just he could fly. But it was an adjustment. Obviously, he was one of the first guy that defected. So it was a big deal from Russia to be coming here in the U.S. It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Turge, you talked about Mike Keenan a little bit in some of the podcasts that I've watched, and you played for him in St. Louis. But did McGillney ever tell you the story about he had Keenan where in Vancouver? And he was like, everyone's like, what's it like to play for Keenan? Are you upset? Does he fire you up? Does he bully you? He's like, are you kidding me? He goes, I defected from Russia. I had like life-threatening threats. He goes, you think I'm scared of Mike Keenan coming from Russia? No, I wasn't.
That's funny. Yeah, he didn't really mind. So I played for Mike too for 4 months, and I love it. He goes, I mean, we used to, obviously, Mike is Mike. It was hard, and I still see him once a year, because we do different things and charity stuff. But Mike, he was tough, obviously. And if I would have played maybe for 2 years, 3 years, it would have a different story. But I love playing for him. The reason was because I play all the time. I play 24, 25 minutes a game. So I mean,
of course I like him.
Yeah. So he calls me in his office, give me a bunch of, it was giving me a hard time. Like it was like. Came back after that meeting out, as I'm thinking I didn't know how to play hockey anymore. So, but I've been in the league for so many years, but you just brush it up and move on. But then the next game, I was playing 24 minutes. I'm like, okay, when is my next meeting? Might as well get another meeting. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, he was a different guy to play for, but he was intense, obviously. And then, but that's funny with McGillney. Good story about that. That's funny.
Who helped you acclimate to the NHL when you got to Buffalo?
So when I got to Buffalo, it was Jacques Cloutier. It was the backup goalie, and Jacques. I live across the street right of him, and I used to call him all the time. And I live with a billet family, so I called him. I said, "How do you say I'm hungry?" Like I just didn't know how to speak English for a year. So it took me a while to really feel more comfortable. And but he was the one I really talked to. And he was a big help. And I'm still good friend with him today. He lives in Colorado still. And we still talk once a week or so. And he's from the same town in my hometown. He's from Rouen. There we go. He's from Rouen, Noranda, too.
Rouen, Noranda.
Rouen, Noranda. So he's from there. So
accent aigu.
Yeah, that's right. So he helped me a lot. But I played with great players too. I mean, Dave Andrechuk. I mean, you learn as far as a hockey player, incredible. Wasn't a great skater, but can he put the puck in the net? It was unbelievable. You could give him the puck anywhere, in a hole like this, he was putting it right there. So I love playing with him. Dave Andrechuk. I mean, when he came in, Dave Andrechuk, what an incredible player, incredible person. I played with him a short period of time. I got traded after, but. And just I could move on with a lot of teams and some of the players I played with. Brett Hall, crazy, how good he could shoot the puck. Mark Rickey in Montreal, I could, and then Derek King, Steve Thomas in Long Island. I mean, these guys were I love playing with these guys.
Lindy Ruff on your rookie team, right?
That's right. Yeah. And the other guy that we forget about is Clark Gillies. His last year was my first year, and it was in Buffalo. And I'm thinking, and I can't speak English much, and he's beside me, and he's got the big Baron behind me and beside me. He's my teammate. I'm looking at him. Don't even freaking talk to me. You're scared of the
yeah. Especially in the shower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm looking at him like, my God, I knew who he was, obviously, but I'm glad he was on my team. But yeah, Clark Gillies is last year. Lindy Ruff was there. Mike Ramsey. We could go on and on. Yes, Tom Barrasso was there as a goalie.
Oh, Tom Barrasso. We had him. Were you there in St. Louis when we had him?
No. Tom
Okay, you must have been gone.
Tom Barrasso played in St. Louis.
Yeah.
For how long?
not long. But I remember shooting on him. If you shot high, he would
Oh,
fire
I
the
saw
puck
that.
right back at you.
You're
We
done.
fought in practice. We literally fought in
Did
practice.
you?
Oh yeah, and then like afterwards, we called him Thurston Howell the third because you remember how he dressed? Like he dressed like the khaki pants, the top hat, and he loved to gamble. Oh, was he a beauty?
Yeah. He was. But you're right. The first one of the first practice, and I think it was Mike Hartman in Buffalo. He had a shot a little high in the warm up. He went and he said, "You do that." He went and skated to him one more time. You see this? It's gonna be over your head.
I think I did it on purpose too. I ripped one off his shoulder. I'm like,
I'm not
"Suck on that."
surprised. Am I surprised? I'm not surprised. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah.
Turge, but let me ask you, like, because we don't think about it, right? Like, I think about Russians that come over and they got to play. They don't speak great English.
Yeah.
What was that like for you as an 18-year-old, first overall to the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah.
Your brother went second overall. I mean, that's insane. First of all, I apologize. I didn't even know your brother played in the National Hockey League until I did the research. What a career, dude. What a talented family. But what was that like, before we get into that, not knowing a lick of English? How did you get through practices, right? Like coaches.
That's what I was going with. That's the hard part. I went to see Jacques Cloutier every time. I said, and then you get behind the line, and hopefully when it's your turn, you see enough that you're not going to screw it up. Or if you think, then you just go back behind the line and wait for another time to go for the next drill. But yeah, it was an adjustment. But they understand, obviously. So, and then I used to ask Jacques Cloutier all the time, say, what are we supposed to do? So he was helping me here and there. But it doesn't take long, just because the fact that you're insert to the language. So you have to, and then I live with a family too. So it took me a year or 2 years, and then, I felt a little more comfortable. I'm still learning.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm still learning. See?
Now you do it on purpose. You're like, oh.
That's right. That's right. If you don't want to, like, I don't know. What do you say?
So you had a billet family in the NHL. I guess I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, what was?
Yeah, some of the guys
like?
do. Yeah, but some of the guys do. So you look at, is that Schaefer that lives with one of the players too?
With Matt Martin, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so it gives them and then when Crosby came in the league, if I'm not mistaken, he stayed with Mario for a couple of years too, just to get it going, to give them stability. You're 18 years old, so it's not a bad thing. I think it's pretty good. Unless the player doesn't want to do it, but it was good for me for sure. Helped me.
Okay,
but yeah, I had a billet family. It doesn't happen often, but I think it does happen with some young guys getting drafted at 18. So you're coming in, you're young. So it was good. It was good.
Turge, growing up, your bro. I mean, I had a brother. He used to beat the snot out of me. He used to throw me in goal. He used to do all the things, and he takes credit to this day. He's like, I made you tough. I was the reason you made the NHL. Kind of, not exactly, but like a big brother. I mean, what was it, 5 or 6 years difference between you two? I mean, he must have been a big idol for you.
But he was, for sure, he's the guy that I was looking up to all the time, and he's the guy that he used to put me in net when I was young, and just used to laser puck at me, just toughen up, just get in there. So I used to put the pad, be a goalie for him. It's just, he was don't move. I had a couple bruises all over the place. No, you got to stay there.
It's weird. So, I never saw you block a shot the entire time in St. Louis, though.
Exactly. Well, I learned how to do the gazelle. I learned that. I learned it well too. See. But you were doing that. So I had someone doing it for us. You were doing it.
So when because he was in the NHL for a few years before you got there.
Yeah, 4.5 years older. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you get some exposure to, NHL life, to NHL players before you got to the National Hockey League?
Yeah. So, and I said that story many times, but this is hockey was hockey. Like, I love playing hockey. I didn't know about you could make money, you could make a living out of it. I just didn't know. And then I saw my brother going up and just moved. And after his first year, when he came back, after his first year, he was driving a 944 Porsche. And then I'm 14 years old, 15 years old. And then that time I went, okay, now you play hockey and you could get these things. So I didn't get it. Like, it's just, I love hockey. And then, you know, I know it's material, I know, but as a kid, you know, and I said to my best friend beside me, I said, I'm gonna have one of those one day, and I'm gonna get one of those. After my first year in the NHL in Buffalo, that popped the budget to the Quicken went crazy, you know. But I bought, yeah, and I bought a 944 white Porsche. And what a bad place to buy a Porsche in Buffalo. It was probably
You have chains on the tires or what?
Yeah, they were so bad. So I kept the car for a year and a half, a year, and then I bought a Ford Explorer, and then that was it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
And you started
but
Quicken. Yeah.
I started Quicken. That was it. You know, and then you kept doing it, and I still do this today. It's crazy. I still do it. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah. So the Porsche really, I know it's material, but for me, it was something that it drove me to want to do, you know, play hockey. But I love the game. First of all, that was just playing hockey was just number one. And we all did. We spent many hours without realizing that it was going somewhere. So there. Crazy.
Turge, you had 42 points as a rookie in Buffalo. That's incredible. It's incredible, first of all, that you played at 18, because back then that didn't really exist. I mean, if you played at 18, sometimes it ruined you, right? As a player. Then you get 88 points the second year. Then you pop off for 106 points. So you were clearly you weren't fazed by being a young kid in the National Hockey League playing against men. It was a big man's game back then.
But you know what? When you look at even now, but then too, you're talking about the NHL, you're talking about junior to the NHL. What a step! It's huge. I mean, now I'm going to say the first 2 months or so, you had the puck, and and especially in Buffalo, the ice is a little smaller, so you had to think a little quicker. So, but every time I had the puck, it was gone. Like I couldn't get control of it. But it took me probably 2.5 months or 3 months to feel like, okay, I belong here. I'm going to do this. And but it took some time, and I'm so glad because Jerry Meehan told me as a young kid coming in, he was the manager there. He goes, listen, you come in, learn. We want you to get better. We give you you're gonna have some time to get better and to learn the game and make sure you adjust to the speed of the game here. And I did. And but they were very good with me when at a young age coming in, without having the expectation to get 100 points right off the bat, or 90 points or 80 points. So, but it's a big step. You go from the NHL, you go to junior to the NHL. It's immense. You're going like Clark Gillies and Lindy Ruff and Mike Ramsey. These guys that's crazy when you think about that. It's a big step. And then when you look back today, how many players in the league now? 700 and something players plays in the NHL in the world. That's crazy. That's crazy. And there's not a lot of people that plays in the NHL when you think about it. So I was blessed, and you were blessed to be able to do it for so many years. It's crazy when you think about it. Crazy.
Pierre, do you think it was do you think it was your cross training that helped prepare you for early success? Because I read that you made it to the Little League World Series.
That's crazy.
When you were 11, and it was only a heartbreaking comeback from the Taiwanese that stopped Team Canada's run.
Well, weren't you like 8 feet tall when you were like 12 or something? Like...
Yeah. I just shrink, But But when you look, there's a picture. If you go online, you Google and it's there. But there's a picture we have, and I'm 5'11", and I'm taller than the coaches, and I'm taller than everyone. So I was really like this at when I was 11 years old. I didn't change much, to be honest with you. But it was 190 pounds, 195 pounds at 11 years old. Yeah.
Oh.
And I was 5'11", 6 foot, and I just didn't change. Stepan Matteau was coming here to me. Now he's over my head. So
Were you
Stepan Matteau
shaving?
was on
Were you the only one shaving on that Little League World Series team?
I don't know if I started shaving, but I was pretty close to it. I guarantee you, I was pretty close to it. But what an experience, from Rouen, being a small little town and win all over Canada, and having that small town having a chance to go Little League World Series and representing Canada. That's nuts. They still talk about us today. And then there's a guy, we just got approached 2 months ago. Someone wants to create a movie out of it. That's what they're doing, just because it's such a not normal thing. It's crazy that, And then the good thing, we were able to alternate me and Stefan pitching, because we were the two pitchers. So then today they all count the pitch. So you have like 5 or 6, 7, 8 pitchers now. But then we were able to alternate me and him, and we made it that way. That's crazy. Then
Who
You
would
guys
winter,
are
play you in
hockey.
the movie?
Huh?
Who would play you in the movie?
I have no idea, but they're still there. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. So they're trying to make a movie out of that. So back home, that's what I don't know. They're starting to talk about it, and there's enough people that they believe that they could do something good about it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Turge, Stefan Matteau, like
Yeah.
at what point did you guys go, okay, maybe we should start thinking about this hockey thing? I know we're real good at baseball, but when did you guys make the crossover?
Hey,
Like,
well, when you think about it, back home, we live 7 hours north from Montreal, and the summer were like 2 months, 3 months. That was it. So we didn't play much baseball, and we played hockey all year round, pretty much. So that's how we. And then me and Stefan, it was all about hockey. Since day one, we just had that baseball that we could do in the summer for 2 months. That was it. And then it was so cold. I mean, we had winter for a long time, so we just, and the hockey was number one. I mean, it didn't matter. It's just hockey was just a passion. Every time I get on the ice, I felt like it was just. I always say this to me, and I don't know if I could relate. You could relate to this, but to me, hockey. Every time you get on the ice at a young age, or even now, I still get on the ice. I feel like it's meditation. You get to a place where you get in your own little bubble for an hour and a half. You don't think about nothing else. It's what matters because you're in the moment. That's you. Where's the puck? What can I do to get the puck back? When can I shut the puck? What can I? You're in the moment. I love, love, love being in that place. To me, I call it meditation at the same time, and a good place to be in. I feel own little
Turge,
bubble.
we need a sequel with you because we could talk to you for 10 hours, but I have to ask you about like obviously Buffalo, the resurgence of Buffalo. That must
Yep.
mean something to you because you guys were really good back then. Then they went 16 years without making the playoffs.
That's crazy.
But Montreal as well. But putting that C on for the Montreal Canadiens, that had to have been the team that I'm guessing you cheered for as a kid. You're the captain of the Montreal
Crazy.
Canadiens.
Crazy.
Dude, what was that like?
Unbelievable. I mean, the right place, the right time. So if you look back when they closed the forum, I mean, it's the top of my career. This thing is, you look at the ceremony they had, the red carpet all over the place. You look at all the captain on the ice. Wow. Jean Béliveau. I mean, you're talking just generation of captain. And you're looking on, you go, and I still talk about it. It gives me goosebumps. I think it's crazy. But that was just there at the right place, right time, and I was part of history, And then they closed the farm. We opened the Molson Center, and being a captain there in Montreal was an incredible experience. And being in closing that farm was an incredible experience, and fun to see how it's working now. I mean, they're doing well, but now they're just lately it's just a different scenario. But yeah, do I want to see Montreal win? I'd love to see Montreal win for sure, 100%. Because I grew up, I used to look up to them, and being even now when you go, we have the old room of les anciens they call it, but you got to go in and you're always welcome to go back. It's pretty unique. It's pretty unique. And Montreal fans it's a different vibe. As you know, you play Montreal, you feel the crowd. You do feel the crowd. It's an incredible place to play. Incredible place.
Well, we
look
see
forward to the after hours parties is what I hey, go to the bar with a black guy in Montreal. It's like, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah. Where'd you go, Chez Paris? That's that where you went?
No, I don't know. I've never heard of that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you see some guys.
It's fun to see now the way they're doing. I think Marty is doing an incredible job. And what he's done to the Montreal Canadiens, and he could bring the experience he's got as a player, but he could relate to the players, and you could see that too. And the players, they all want to play for him. And last year, not this year, but last year, the captain Suzuki went to see him, and I guess my understanding, he asked Marty not to trade anyone, so they wanted to keep the team together. So that tells you a lot. I mean, they didn't want no one to go. They wanted to keep the team together, and that was about maybe not this year, but last year. But even now, you could tell the team how they're gel, and it starts with Marty and then Suzuki and all these guys, and you could tell they work as a team. And but now obviously the Carolina is unbelievable. So they're just machine right now. It's crazy. It's gonna be tough. They're a tough team. And they're so adept, and they're working all the time. They're like just nonstop. They're relentless, and they're fun to watch. They're fun. I love playoff hockey. To me, it's incredible. Hockey playoff.
You just love hockey, Turge. I don't know anyone who loves hockey more than you. You're like Gretz. The way you talk about the game and appreciate it and all it's given you, like I just love.
Hey, but when on top of it, we made a living out of it. I think that's crazy. They paid us money to play hockey. Wow. We're lucky. We're very lucky that we did something we love, So I love the
Some
game.
more
Nothing
than
gets
others.
exhausted. Yeah.
That's why I'm still working, Turge.
But it's
Pierre,
good. And
was
I'd love.
there?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you if there was this added pressure in Montreal being a francophone, right? Like I know
Yeah.
it wasn't exactly your hometown, but your home province at least. Some
Sure.
guys thrive in that, and some guys, it's hard for them. Like you see Mitch Marner go and have more success in Vegas than he did in Toronto when all the pressure was on, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what was it like for you?
I was there for 2 years, and what happened is a big change. The new coach came in, the new GM came in. There was a lot of instability, and then I didn't agree too much with what was happening with my situation. They wanted to use me. I said, I can't stay there and play on the fourth line when I'm 27, 28, 29 years old. I said, it's not gonna happen. And and that was the debate we had with the coaching staff and thing. Not the coaching, the coach and the GM. And I asked to be traded at one point. I said, you listen, if you're gonna feel like I'm at the end of my career, I can't do that anymore. And I played 10 more years after. So I went to St. Louis. It's just, I would have stopped my career. It would have been done at 28 years old, 29 years old. And I felt like I had a lot more to give. And I went to St. Louis. I had many good years in St. Louis. And I just, yeah. So, but do I love playing in Montreal? Yes. There's a lot of pressure. Yes. Anywhere you go, there's something. I remember a story. I used to go to Tim Horton in the morning, and every morning, and so you don't want to read the paper, Journal de Montréal, the paper. It's just because you go from the back, and there's 6 page, and it's packed. Like that's all they talk about, hockey. So I'm thinking I don't read the paper, so I'm gonna go get my coffee in the morning. So I'm in line. Someone comes behind me and says, hey, did you see the paper this morning? I say, I don't read the paper. He goes, I'll tell you what they said about you. You sucked yesterday. I said, thank you. Appreciate it. You're very kind for letting me know that. So, but that's how Montreal, they feel, some people feel like they're entitled to come to you and tell you you're good. But Montreal really feel like you're very good or you're very bad. There's no kind of in between. You're very, yeah. So, but what a place to play. It's an incredible place. The fans are unbelievable, but yeah, so you're going to have moments like this. That's going to happen sometime.
Turge, I got to ask you, I mean, the papers, I can't imagine how full they were. Wayne Gretzky got traded, but so did Patrick Waugh. That game, the 9-1, I only got a couple more for you. I got to drag it out of you, but you were a part of that team. And I think that was another guy you drove to the rink with every day was Patrick Waugh. I think he was your neighbor back in the day, but the story, 9-1, he doesn't get yanked. I mean, all of it.
Yeah. I knew it was going, like the first meeting we had, the first coach came in, and then you could tell it didn't start the right way. And after that, I felt like it was, you could tell it was something was going to happen. I don't know what, but something was, because Patrick is not afraid to, if you challenge him, you better be ready, because it's gonna bounce back to you, and he wasn't afraid to do it. And but Patrick has had a lot to say some time with the coaching staff, and he was able to communicate. And it's like Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux comes to the locker room and says maybe the team needs a break for us. It'd be good to have a break, whatever. So yeah, they have power to do it. Why not? If they're entitled to do it, yes, they are. Because they make such a big impact to the game. They make a big impact to the team. And Patrick had to sit that situation a little bit. So, but it wasn't supposed to work like that way when we had a new coach coming in. And then you could tell that it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't very good. So, but yeah.
Were those conversations in the car that you were hearing about? Because didn't he come down from, like, the coach wasn't, like, Mario Tremblay, I believe, right? He was the radio guy.
Yeah.
Now he's the coach.
He was a radio. Yeah, he was. Yeah, imagine that. So being a radio guy, and I all the respect, crazy, and go to
be like Fultz.
Coach Montreal
Fultz coming down and coaching.
Yeah, imagine that. That's crazy when you think
I'm a
about it.
player's
It's
coach,
just,
Pierre. I'm a player's coach.
yeah. But and it is crazy when you think about it. He did what he did. Anyway, you could tell that he wanted to have the old school coaching, and it wasn't. And yeah, sometime I have that conversation with Pat, and I see it once or twice a year, and I have story and that we could write a book, I think, on it. And a lot of people are telling me you should write the book. I said, I ain't writing the book. I don't think it's gonna happen. But it's interesting. It's interesting what the conversation in the car we had many conversation. I could, and it's just you could tell that Patrick was going. He would have got traded anyway if that didn't happen too, probably. So, but it's crazy. Yeah, crazy moment that being there at that time. So I called him after the game. I said, "What did you say?" He goes, "This is the last game I'm going to play for the Montreal Canadiens." That's what I said to Mr. Corey. That's it. I'm done. So that's what he said to Mr. Corey, and Mr. Corey was right behind the bench. If you remember well,
I do.
Yeah, he was right behind, and it was no glass. You could communicate. You could talk with the fans. Really, you could just yeah. So that's how it was before. So but they're looking back. They're good memories. I mean, it wasn't fun at that time, but it's a tough place to play. I mean, Montreal is the demand, but you could be on top of the world and the other, Marner, look at them. Like, it's crazy. He didn't change. He's the same player. Now he's going to be probably the player of the playoff. It's crazy how good he is. It's unbelievable. Maybe being in Toronto, that didn't work. Why? You're asking. I don't know. It's crazy when you think about it.
Wanted to also ask you about a guy who you reconnected with at the end of your career in Colorado. You mentioned Joe Sakic before,
Yeah.
but also Pierre Lacroix,
Yeah.
and the impact that he had on you throughout his career.
Yes.
And maybe some of our newer fans don't remember him as the GM there in Colorado and Quebec, but could you just talk about the impact that he had on you throughout your hockey life?
Yeah, good question. He was a dad, really. He was a dad to me. So I left my dad was a lumberjack. He didn't know much about hockey. So we come from a city, really small cities, decent city. But we and then when I went to Montreal, I was 15 years old, and then Pierre Lacroix used to be there, and he was already my brother's agent, and so I was able to communicate with him quite a bit, and so having some advice, and he was my agent for many years, and then he wanted to have a better challenge. He wanted to be a GM, so he went for Quebec. He was a GM for many years and moved the team. They moved the team to Colorado at that time, and he was all part of that, and he was a big part of moving that team to Colorado. And but then I reconnected, and obviously we see him, and there was a connection because he was just he had such a big influence in my career and my life too. We just planning stuff and organizing, and so he signed me. My last 2 years, I was able to get back to Colorado and play for him, and great years. Obviously, my last 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy this. Whatever happened, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride, and we're gonna have fun. And I was telling Joe Sakic, I was driving with him to the rink, and then we're sitting on the plane too. We're having wine and just we're enjoying it. And I'm gonna enjoy this. It doesn't matter. I get cut. It doesn't matter. So, but the wine story, if you guys heard the wine story or not. So
Oh yeah, that was next.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, that story is we're in Chicago, and then I'm bringing wine. We can't have any alcohol on the plane, and I'm thinking, I want wine on the plane. So I've been bringing 1, 2 bottles, 3 bottles, just because players are all knowing I'm gonna have. So from the front to the plane, they're all coming down to the back of the plane. They're all with their glass. So they're all asking for wine. And so I'm thinking, okay, now I got to bring like 4 bottles of wine, 5. Like my bag was just packed. But that's the story in Chicago. And the guy from the room tells another kid to go get wine. In Chicago, they have that store, or the wine store, and the level of the ice. So I said, give me 4 bottles for the planes. And he goes to another kid, go get the 4-bottle wine. He gets the 4-bottle wine, comes back, sees Pierre Lacroix, the other kid, and he tells Pierre Lacroix, I have your 4-bottle of wine for the plane. That's the GM that we're not supposed to have wine on the plane. That's crazy. And I'm thinking, and now the guy comes to me, goes, he goes, there's your bottle of wine for the plane, but he told Pierre Lacroix, and I'm thinking, I don't care. I'm I'm going with. He wants to suspend me. He wants to fine me. He wants to fire me. I'm gonna bring wine on the plane. I don't care. So he never said anything to me. But before he passed away, about a couple of years ago, we were in Vail, and we were having breakfast together. And he goes to me, "Do you remember the wine story?" I say, "How can I not? I can't believe we talk about this after many years ago." It's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, and
Only one other Pierre in the entire league, and it's you two.
yeah, yeah. He's walking. Pierre, I have you a 4 bottle of wine for the plane. I didn't order 4 bottle of wine. He knew right away. So, oh my God, it's crazy. Never sent anything. Though. That's pretty cool. He never sent anything. That was, yeah. It was my
he's your
last few
agent.
years. Yeah,
he was your
well,
agent
he was
back
my
in the
agent.
day.
He was my dad. I met him when I was
Yeah.
12 years old, 11 years old, and it's crazy. So, but yeah, that was a good story. I love those story. That was good. Yeah, and especially revisiting this after many years when he talked to me about it. But okay, wow, that's crazy.
Hey, Pierre, last one for me. And,
Yeah.
when I look at you, and I always remember, I'm like, look at how this guy plays, right? And you're always learning, right? When you're a fourth
Yeah.
line guy or a third line guy,
Yeah.
you were a first line guy. And I'm like, look at how this guy plays. There's Pavel Demitra, there's skill guys, which
Yeah.
you were. But then there was Pierre Turgeon, who you played a lot like Keith Tkachuk in ways in where you scored your goals. You were never on the perimeter. Like you didn't wait for the big one-timer. You scored your goals from the interior of the ice. I mean, was that something you always just took pride in?
No, I think I learned that with years coming in. I think my first couple years in Buffalo, I was depending on my skill a lot. And then you look at players and like Anderchuk or the way he was protecting the puck and the way so you kind of grab things from here and there to how can I get better? Like you're saying, you never stop learning. You just gotta, even I don't care. Tell you a story about Brett, when I was 27 years old, and I was still learning after 10 years being in you learn all the time. So anyway, but you take pride of it. And then, and then my biggest thing that really connected was Al Arbour to me, the best coach with Quinville for me that I had. And he was telling me how to, the puck is there, you just compete. It's all about getting the puck. I don't care if you want to be physical. You don't need to finish your hit and kill someone. That's not what I want. You got to come out with the black thing. It's yours. It's your puck. So it's here. This is you're gunning down and it's your puck. So then you get to be at one point. So I learned to just compete around I wanted to have the puck. That was my mindset, but it doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't, but it's something that I learned, I think maybe my 4th years in the league, 5th years being, protecting the puck behind the net, competing in front of the net, get inside of the crease. And I learned a lot from a guy like Al Arbour telling me that focus on the small areas of the game. This is where you're going to create. This is where your scoring chance is going to come from. And after that, you just stop in front of the net for rebound, whatever that is, instead of sliding on the side. It's easy not to get inside of that crease. Yes, you're going to get abused a lot of times. You're going to get cross-check and stuff. But yeah, you got to, but it's all, when you look at the game, it's all one-on-one competing. It's all, you got to compete. That's how you get scoring chance. If you don't, look at Carolina right now. That's crazy how good they are. They come out with a puck everywhere. So, I mean, that's the game. It's just the game. And that's creating scoring chance. And that creates, goals and stuff. But yeah, so I did learn a lot from that. But it's there's a lot of people you played with that, and they make you even better too. So, and you learn a lot from other players for sure.
Turge, my man. The classiest guy in the National Hockey League, dude.
I love it.
I always loved you from the first time I ever met you. You were so
Same.
good to me as
Ton
a
of respect,
little
man.
as a little rookie. But thank you for the time. I know we kept you way too long, folks. Over
Anytime.
1,300 points, over 500 goals. He's a Hall of Famer, Pierre Turgeon, one of the best guys in the league.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, folks, it certainly did not disappoint. Pierre Turgeon, What a gentleman. And this guy, as you know, was like a superstar, Hall of Fame, but an even better person. The Quicken stories, the plane stories that we were letting fly. I mean, this guy was so, and not cheap. Cheap's not the word. I mean, because he loved his wine. He loved to hydrate on the plane, and he loved to share that great wine. And we weren't cheap and drinking cheap stuff either. This was as good as it gets. I mean, he is French, and he knows how to dress. He knows how to eat, and he knows what wine to drink. But and he is one hell of a hockey player. My God,
incredible. And he was, in an era before I was, a hockey fan. Like I was just a young kid, and going back doing the research for that interview and watching some of his highlights, it's pretty remarkable player, and awesome to chat with him.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, he's probably the nicest, biggest superstar that ever played the game. Like, literally, he was the kindest man. And I can't say it enough. I mean, look at him on the interview. I mean, just watch the interview. The guy sat with us for an hour. I mean, superstars are usually like, okay, I got 10 minutes. How long do you need me for? Rolling their eyes. They don't really want to do it. But he loved it. He loved to talk to us and tell those old stories. Like, I don't know. I could have went, like, we got to have him on again. Like, that's the bottom line. I got to have him on next year in season, in the studio, hopefully, that he can buzz in. And I mean, you'll just be blown away at this guy. He's like just a brick shithouse too. He's like a fire hydrant. He's just a savage. His workout stories before the games, him and Joe Sakic. I don't know if you remember that one, but him and Joe Sakic just, fighting for the squat rack before games to lift, right? I mean, they're cut from the same cloth. And actually, when we were doing that interview as well, I know we talked about this earlier, but obviously the Claude Lemieux, so sad, absolutely gut wrenching. That story was released. I literally was looking at it on my phone and was going to ask Pierre about it because I know that they grew up together. They're the same era. They were teammates at one point, I believe. And it was just super sad. I'm glad I didn't, but again, I just thinking about Claude and his family. Sad event.
And we didn't even get to Dale Hunter. And that's maybe the biggest moment or the most recognizable moment from an outsider's perspective of Pierre Turgeon's career. We didn't even get to that. That's how all over the map we were. But another thank you to Pierre Turgeon. And we'll have to send him some NASHCAST golf ball, something to entice him back on.
You bet, buddy. You bet. Pleasure, man. Pleasure as always, Fultz. You are the best, man. Thank you.
Hey, let's enjoy some more Stanley Cup Finals, huh?
I know. Game 4.
Beautiful chateau you have behind you. Look at that. It looks like a Scottish castle or something like that.
Yeah. Who do you got winning?
I'm scared to pick against Vegas. We're recording this before Game 4. I'm terrified to pick against Vegas. They seem like, you said it earlier, like nothing phases them. They're fine with whatever comes their way. And Carolina could easily win it, but Carolina hasn't really been able to overwhelm Vegas the way that they overwhelmed some of those teams earlier in the playoffs.
Why do you think that is? Like, I can't figure it out. I'm like, how do they have so few shots? I mean, are they just spent? Do they not have their legs a little bit under them? Like, I don't understand how that could happen as tired and beat up as you are. But I'm trying. It's a head scratcher to me. Is Vegas moving the puck too quick? Like, because they're not they're a big team, but they're not a quick team. Like, Vegas is not fast. They don't overwhelm you with speed. They play a tight, airtight system. I know that.
And it's like what we saw against Utah in round 1, where there were moments where Vegas just totally closed the house, and there was nothing available in those dangerous areas in their own zone. And even during the regular season, Tyson, like under Bruce Cassidy, the Golden Knights were still, like, if not the best team, the second best team at defending the slot, defending the area in between the dots, and not letting pucks get in there. And that's kind of what we're seeing against Carolina. Also, have you noticed all these flip plays? Like, both teams just punting and flipping the puck out to the opposite blue line, and they're both doing it really skillfully, like far enough for icing, but creating these foot races.
Well, and that can end bad too, right? I mean, because you can fan a flip is not an easy play to make. Sometimes it just bobbles off your stick. It rolls backwards. All of a sudden you turn the puck over in the middle of the ice because that's where you're flipping it. You're flipping it to the middle of the ice because you can't afford to flip it towards the glass in any sort of direction because there's a too many men or delay a game penalty. Excuse me. So anyway, that was another thing that. What was I going to say? I can't remember. Oh my God. I was loose in my mind. I had a great point to make.
Again.
Yeah, I know. I had a great point to make, and now I forgot. God, I just talked myself to death. Anyway.
I love it. Hey, that's why we have an episode next week. You can write it down. You remember it, write it down.
I got to write stuff on my hand like some of my interviews.
We'll get to it next week. Hey, enjoy the time on the lake. That looks amazing. Enjoy the hockey. It's a great time of year. Yeah, we'll talk to everybody next week. Remember to follow along on Instagram, NASHCAST Official on IG. Tyson will be recording everything he's doing at the lake. He'll be on the boat doing the selfie video.
The Speedo, cold water. Sorry, folks. Sorry. Like a button on a fur coat.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, we'll talk to you next week. God bless, and enjoy the hockey.